funky, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? Funky Fresh? Oh.
Please stand back to what I said.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Grimminger? Here. Alderman Skaggs?
Here.
Alderwoman Zerwig?
Here.
Alderman Stupi?
Here.
Alderman Jokers?
Here.
Alderman Steiger?
Here.
Alderman Oakenfoos?
Here.
Alderman Ross?
Here.
Alderwoman Brumfield?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think we'll go right into city administrator's report.
Gracious. The sign committee's been meeting, and they came up with the number of signs they want. You saw a sample of the signs that they were proposing to put around the city. We also talked about putting up some directional signs in two locations. One would be at the right at the corner of Market and Third, across from the Big Field Cafe, and another would be at the Main Street restroom, one of those "You Are Here" maps, so you could find your way around. And so we put all that together, and I got estimates on cost for materials, and the idea was to approach the foundation, community foundation, for a grant, and that resolution is in your packet tonight. And you'll be considering it. I attended the levy district meeting, and the most significant action was they chose to keep the tax rate at the same level. We had a bid opening on Westwood. The results are there in my report. The combined construction cost and the estimate, and that is a high estimate for design and construction supervision services, but it was just a budget figure. So we should come in $10,000 to $15,000 below what we budgeted for that. The tax revenues are coming in as expected, so there's money there to proceed right into taking bids for the Porter Street. Union Pacific, every year, we've got problems getting people to cut their grass, and that goes to the railroad, because when the railroad goes through a residential area, it's unfair for the people who live on the other side of or adjacent to it, for the railroad not to have to maintain their weeds at the same level that the resident does. Now, in areas where the track goes and it's not in a residential area, we don't get quite as concerned about it. So they've finally, every year, somebody else is responsible. So the person I talked to last year isn't the person you talked to this year. So I finally found the person, and he agreed to take care of the problems. The most significant one is on South Cavalry, kind of just past the Lala Deer House there on the left, where they just really hadn't done anything. Again, we've been working with the people. I haven't yet approached the individual property owners on Point Base. The engineer is currently preparing the easement deeds that we will need. We're going to need about a 5-foot additional right-of-way, and I'd rather do it as right-of-way rather than as an easement for the new road. So we're going to prepare deeds for them to execute, and granting the city that additional right-of-way. The Point Base is going to give us an easement to go through the parking between the buildings to take the stormwater on the south end of the street over to the creek. And I think since the property owners petitioned us for this improvement, you would expect them to be cooperative in working with us on getting the easements and making the improvements.
2.5 feet on each side?
No, 5 on each.
5 on each,
Yeah.
Okay.
I was approached by Richard Graveman about renewal on the Fund for Progress in St. Genevieve, and I really haven't found anybody who can tell me why we need to keep that in good standing with the Secretary of State. It appears it was set up to kind of channel money on the TIF, or I'm not sure exactly what. Mr. Graveman seems to think it was TIF financing.
Wasn't it flood finance?
Sewer plant, I think.
Sewer plant?
I think that's what it was.
I thought didn't all that grant money that the city received after the flood of '93, didn't it go through Fund of Progress? Or no?
There was some, it was a,
I think you're right, I think it was sewer.
yeah, I believe it was.
This discussion is kind of illustrates.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're at, yeah, right, I understand your position.
So my advice is, why don't we just, one of two things, either find the bylaws, and if they provide for a process to dissolve the fund, the organization do that, or don't file the renewal with the Secretary of State, and just let it be administratively dissolved. But it just doesn't make any sense to spend $40 a year for something that isn't being used. There's always something comes up after I write these things, because Sue makes me get it to her by Tuesday. In this case, I got an email from the National Park Service, the planner who's working on the study. They're ready to have a meeting in St. Genevieve in August, as I told you that they would be, to discuss with the stakeholders what alternatives are available and which would be the best fit for St. Genevieve. We're not going to become a national park like Williamsburg, where there's park rangers on every corner, but there will be a presence here, and we just have to decide with them what's the most appropriate presence. Following that, there will be another meeting that's required by the federal regulations, where only elected officials and municipal, state, or federal representatives attend. So we'll have a second meeting. The end result of that will then be their recommendation on the study, and so they're on schedule to get that out. And I'll keep you informed to the extent that I can. The other thing is, I want to remind you that the newsletter is available on the website, and it was sent by email to those who have subscribed. And if anyone wants to subscribe and isn't on our email list, they should call City Hall and give us their email, or send an email to cbullock, BULLOCK, at St. Genevieve, without the period, STEGENEIEVE.org, and a request being put on our mailing list. Next year, I'm going to put in the budget money to produce about 100 copies of that every quarter. So we'll get hard copies printed and then be able to put them around in the visitor center and places where people meet. That concludes my report.
Question?
The tracks there at 10th Street, that's really bad. The Johnson grass is so high. I'm always concerned that they might not blow their whistle, which they're gonna blow the horn when the train comes, but you can't see to the west at all, towards Limekiln when you get to the crossing. That's
10th Street tracks.
Yep.
Oh, also 4th Street when they're coming in, there's really high on the right side by the feed store.
Right here.
Yeah.
10th Street.
Yeah, that needs to be cut. Yeah.
It's the same railroad.
Yep.
When, do you know when this meeting's gonna be, the National Park, the first meeting? Do you have a date for that?
No, I think it's going to be on the 28th
July.
of August. But they haven't found a place and firmed it up yet.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Staff reports. Terry?
The next meeting, you will have a written report from me, second meeting, and I always submit those. I will not be at the next meeting. So I wanted to make sure if you had any questions, feel free to ask me. I was going to go over a few of the highlights with you. Just to let you know, we did have a main break today on Park Street on the end of Pine there. Again, we shut off 6 valves. 4 valves should have killed the line, and it did not kill it. And so we fixed it old school way, hot and working under the water. Got it fixed. It's backfilled, compacted, shouldn't settle, and we washed the street off with the jetter. So hopefully we won't get too many complaints because it was pretty muddy there. We had a repair we done on 9th Street last week with the hydro stop. Got that hydrant from leaking. It's been leaking quite a while. We got that done. We still have to do a stop or insert a valve up on Washington Street for that hydrant. We haven't forgot. It's just that we're having conflicting schedules with the people that has to do the work and us and different things. So we had it scheduled, and now we've got to reschedule it. We had a water leak over on Porter Street on a 2-inch line in there. We plan to abandon that line. I believe maybe there's a chance that the city might improve that road at some point. I think me and the city administrators talked, and it makes a lot of sense just to get rid of that line. There's a perfectly good 6-inch line in that street. There was no, I still do not know why they didn't, at the time, tie all the residents and the people onto the new line, but they didn't. They put a new line in and left the old line in there. So we'll abandon that. Hopefully we can get to that next month, tracing the services down. We'll have to shut off the line. We'll have to shut off the 2-inch line and see who we kill, find out who's on it, because there's no record saying who's tied on to where. So we'll have to shut the line down and then go knock on everybody's door and see if they've got water or not. And then we'll have to trace those lines out and get them.
That'll all be done while they're.
It will be done while it's under construction.
Yeah. So then we had a small water leak up in the park that we got fixed this week. We're down to operating with 1 clarifier at the wastewater plant. If you remember back in some reports from Horner and Schifrin in the past, there was talk about, on the CMOM, there was talk about having to build a 3rd clarifier because we couldn't operate and run the plant efficiently on 2. Just to let you know, we're only using 1 right now. I do not see a need for a 3rd clarifier in no way, shape, or form, unless the city would happen to grow a lot. So that's $500,000 savings right there. We've got a valve that we're going to replace on the other clarifier, and when we get that valve replaced, we will then drain that clarifier and operate on the one that we're not using right now and inspect it and check them all out and try to get them up to speed before we need the second one. We will need it when the flows pick back up, but the yearly average daily flow averages around 500 and some thousand gallons a day. But for the last 2 months, we've been at 300,000 gallons a day because of dry weather. There's no I&I. I mean, it's gone. So 300,000 gallons a day is your normal domestic wastewater flow. Everything above that is, I'm calling that 300,000 my baseline because it's really 302,000 one day, 308,000. So that's our baseline. Anything above that's rainfall. And it costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to treat rainwater. And so that's what we've been pretty aggressive on trying to fix that. Saying that, we did get 10 manholes this week repaired with the new machine. Put the machine up now pretty well on manholes, and we'll probably wait until now about September because we have to come in really early in the morning before it gets hot. That cementatious product it heats up in those lines. We can't let it set up in the lines in the travel time. So, but we did get 10 done this month. I have a big project that I'm going to try and do with that machine, but we'll do it at midnight to 5 in the morning. At the wastewater plant, we got a wet well that's really badly deteriorated, and I think we can repair it with that machine. Instead of having to dig it up and replace it, I think we can buy a little different product that handles the gases a little better, and I think we can reline that big tank with it. And so we're gonna do it at 10:30. Come in at 10:30, get ready to start spraying about midnight when the flows are almost nothing. We'll be able to divert the flow into the new EQ tank so that we don't have no flow, and let it set all night and get it cured up. I think it'll work. If it does, that's $30,000-$40,000 we don't have to spend to replace that. So, water plant, we got 24-hour operations there now. We added complete another shift due to this drought that we're in, the watering, and Some days we run 24 hours and some days we run 20. So you can't schedule unless you schedule. So we just got projects when the guys, like tonight, the guy was able to shut down a little bit and he got it in the jetter and he went out and washed Park Street with the jetter. And then he'll start to plant back up. Well, number 6 has a very significant drawdown now. That's been the well that's caused us a lot of problems over the years. The drawdown on that well right now is around 20 feet. The other wells are at 6 feet. That's an indicator of the well is just starting to live its life. Just to keep that in the back of your mind. And sometime down the road, we might be looking into a capital improvement project for a new well down the road. I mean, it's not dead yet, by no means. We're still using it. But it's not regenerating as fast as we're pumping out. So instead of having like a 6-foot drawdown, it's in the 20s. But we check it daily, and so we'll be fine.
Terry?
Yes, sir.
What's a well cost?
Oh, my. I would have to, this is shooting from the hip, Mayor. I'm going to say $150,000. That's a complete shooting from the hip.
Why does it cost so much?
Well, drinking water, public drinking water wells cost a significant amount of money more than a private well because you have to have a pitless adapter, they have to be sealed, they have, you have to be bored bigger, you use bigger casings, they're just really expensive. And the pump alone, is gonna cost $12,000-$14,000 just for the pump and the motor. And that's not counting the drilling and the casing and the installation and the wiring and you have to run wires all the way to control panels. A control panel's $40,000-$50,000 sometimes. Again, that's a complete hip shot. It might be $180,000 and it might be $120,000, but
It's not gonna be 20,000.
it's not going to be $20,000. I mean, we spent $16,000 just making a repair on it. Just to clean one of them is $10,000. To replace any time you do any work on them and a company has to come in with their cranes and set up, you're going to spend $10,000 doing a minor repair. Wells are very expensive.
The problem here isn't that the aquifer isn't adequate.
No.
It's the deterioration of the
Yes.
equipment.
The well, the water that we supply is fine. Our static levels in our aquifer is fine. They're down 1.5 feet from their high. They just really don't change a lot. The problem is this is made out of carbon material, carbon steel, and it deteriorates. And it's just living its lifetime. The pipes are bad.
Did they have to use the same hole? Just replace the
No,
equipment?
no, I don't know what it's gonna cost to abandon it, but no, they wouldn't use the same hole because it's my understanding, I'm not an expert in this, but it's my understanding that they would have to pull the casing out, and when they pull the casing out, it would all collapse. And so what they do is you have to seal those off per DNR standards and seal them, which costs quite a bit. They have to, because you can't contaminate the water level. So you have to do that plus drill another well. When St. Genevieve had that area designed, they left room for another one down the road. So there's room in the control panel for the controls. There's piping already set up for another well. So some of those costs were done in the beginning, but you're still gonna have to drill it and get the piping over to it. So that's down the road, but it's something we need to think about.
So you can put it in the same area?
Yeah, they're all in a real close proximity to each other down there, but if we have land, yes, we could put it in the same area. We've been working with Horner and Schifrin trying to get the information to them for the facility planning. They sent a guy down today. He called me and said he was on his way, so I'm assuming he picked the stuff up, but we gave him 2 boxes of information today. I sent him an email with the flow data on all the fire hydrants and stuff. We got that on a spreadsheet and sent to them. So, and they sent us a map that we're hand working on, trying to draw in stuff that we have found, that we, things that we're learning about. It seems like every time we dig, we learn something. So we're putting those on the map to try to work on that facility plan. That's really about all I have, except for, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell you about Bobby Swint. Is that okay? Bobby Swint came to work for us when we took when you all hired us to do the wastewater treatment and the distribution and the collection. And I'm fortunate enough to have gotten rid of him. Bobby has been promoted to a local manager's position, the same position I have. And it's in a small town of Russellville, Missouri. We have a new contract starting on Monday, and Bobby is going to be the boss down there. He is leaving us, and he has a new job starting Monday. He's still got the same boss. That, just by proxy a little bit. Any questions?
How many wells we got total?
We have 4 wells total.
I was just gonna ask Bobby if he was taking Chad with him.
And Bobby's concerned about, when I asked him when he got that job, I said, so what have you been looking at? Well, I got to find a place to live and see if they got any horseshoe leagues.
That's a priority.
Yes.
You talking about Hootie?
Yeah. I mean, if you can't get rid of them, promote them.
I wanted to ask you about the you say it's down 20 foot from normal and one well.
When it's running, what happens is you have a casing that is the well, and then inside the casing you have a pumping system, and it's got a screen on it, okay? And your pump and motor sets down inside that. The water has to come through the screen to get to the pump, and we measure the water column in there with an air gauge and a tube. And when the well is pumping, you measure the drawdown to where the water level gets inside that. It normally runs 4 to 6 feet. Well, now this one's running about 26, 27 feet on the high end. And what that tells me is that the water can't get in through the screens and get to where the pumps are. It starts out in the morning at 3 feet, and by the end of the day, it's at 25 feet. So we're pumping more out than is getting in.
And that's because the equipment is old.
It's starting to be worn, yes.
Is it in the proper order? Is that the oldest?
Yes, it is the actual oldest one. When I talked to Flynn Drilling, because they had more information about it than I have from the records, and well 6 is the oldest one that's in act that is being used right now, and it has been treated with acid about every 2 years, which typically is once every 5 years. And it's been being treated with acid at about $10,000 a pop to keep it active. And so I am not real sure that we want to do that anymore. Since I've been here, we've spent $20,000 on treatment, and we've spent, I think, about $16,000 on repairs to it. And, it's still failing us. It's still working fine under normal conditions if we had all 4 wells pumping. At one time, probably the GPM coming out of it would probably keep up. But when you drop down to 3 wells, you get more GPM per well, and it won't quite keep up. And if it would keep up, we could run with 2 and save energy costs. And so we found this through an energy saving way. We were trying to save some energy by going to 3 wells instead of 4. And it seems to be working, but it's just showing us that the well's getting weak and deteriorating.
Thank you, sir.
Is all 4 wells about the same depth?
All 4 wells have what I call the exact same depth. The airlines are all set at 74 feet. They're shallow wells. I want to say they're 86 feet deep. And don't quote me on that one, but I think that's what they are, is 86 feet deep, plus or minus a foot on each one. Thank you.
No, thank you. I'd like to apologize for my absence at the June meeting. Had some family issues, but I have both May's report and June report included with my report. In total, we noticed with the high temperatures that we've had the past month and a half, we have had a drop in visitors to the Welcome Center. Despite the fact that we've had this decrease 2 months in a row, our year-to-date numbers are still 5% ahead of where we were same time this year as in 2011. And I think that's really to do with we were warm so early. We had a lot of visitors in January, February, March that we hadn't gotten before. So we're still ahead of the game despite the weather. So hopefully we'll kind of taper off with these triple temps and get people back in. In regard to the budget, May and June of 2012 expenses are lower than 2011, so we're doing pretty good with that. And what's really exciting is with the May and the June web reports. May and June website visits, unique visitors, page views, they increased significantly over what we had May, June 2011. The way that we get our Visit St. John website out to the public is via our print publications. The fact that we are now over 3,000 visitors to the website, and that our web page views, we topped over 12,000 in May, 13,000 in June. With that, the average time on our website is 4.5 minutes. And from what our webmaster has told me, this is unheard of. That is an incredible amount of time for anyone to be spending. So that means they're going to the lodging, they're looking at availability, they're seeing what the attractions that we have, they're looking at, the stores and the other attractions that we have here in St. Genevieve. So those are all positive. Hopefully that means they're in the process of planning a visit at some point in St. Genevieve. So very excited about that. Part of this rise, I believe, is due to, we started really hitting again with the advertising beginning about mid-April, both with our fiscal year 12 Missouri State Co-op and with the Tax Commission, with some online advertising that we've had going through various publications. Speaking of the co-op, the fiscal year 13 co-op, the governor signed the budget. Our co-op has been fully funded. They really liked the marketing plan. They liked the direction that we're going in. The one thing that in the commentary that we had was a lack of studies and not having that study information to back up our assertions of where we're putting the money and where we believe our guests are coming from. So I will have that as a part of my fiscal year 13. I do have a request in, and hopefully we'll be able to maintain that in the budget so that we can get a study done. It would not only be good and helpful for the state co-op, but it would be good for us just on the city budget and with the other sources of funding that we receive to be able to show the conversion rate. People see the ad, they call to get information. How many of these people actually wind up coming after they received information? But other than that, are there any questions? This weekend is the county fair. I'm encouraging everybody to go. They have a truck and tractor pull tonight that I believe started at 7 o'clock, and they have beer and dancing. I think Pain After August is the band that is playing. I guess that's when school starts.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Very good, thank you.
No, he already, right, he said everything, so. Can you leave me a little bone that,
For the minutes of the June 28th meeting. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, Resolution 2012-54, a resolution of City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, stating intent to apply for a Missouri Department of Natural Resources grant for fiscal year 2013 Historic Preservation Fund grant in the amount of $8,850. Move to approve.
Second.
Before voting, the local match of that will be in kind. So it's not going to cost us any out-of-pocket expense. It will be staff time and materials and supplies and that kind of thing.
Brenda, is this an automatic grant? I know some of them that you've applied for in the past, they say apply for it and you'll get it. Is this one?
It's not a guarantee.
No,
This is-
okay.
yeah.
Any other discussion? discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Brenda, I think that'll be great if we can get that grant, and I hope you can get the word out, I guess, as best you can, because it looked like some good material in there for, homeowners if they want to take a look at, maintaining and redoing some of those instead of replacing them, so.
Resolution 2012-55, a resolution of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, stating intent to apply for a grant from the St. Genevieve County Community Development Fund in the amount of $4,800 for signage for the City of St. Genevieve.
Move to approve.
It just so happens that their next meeting is next Wednesday. I think it's every other month, so we're hitting that pretty well.
I will, subject to your vote tonight, I will have that emailed to Bob Miller and tonight.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. At this time, we'll have a public hearing at 7:32. Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri will hold a public hearing on Thursday, July 12th, 2012 at City Hall, 165 South 4th Street, to consider a revision to the municipal code of the City of St. Genevieve. This revision involves an amendment to the zoning code, section 405.200, special use regulations, adding the stipulation that any request or requisite requisite county, state, or federal license be obtained as a condition for the issuance of a special use permit. Any comments from anybody?
Discussion.
7:32. I said 7:32.
I didn't hear you, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yes.
We've talked about this. We've had a couple concerned business owners come in and ask us to look at how we're doing, how we're operating these businesses and issuing these permits. And I think it puts the city, in general, I think this is a good thing to do, but I think it does put us in a situation where we have to police businesses where we might not necessarily have the authority to do so. So I called and talked to Mr. Toma earlier this week, and I could see a situation where our City Hall personnel have to decide whether a business has to have a certain permit or not. And I don't know if it's necessarily within our jurisdiction to say whether someone needs a certain federal or state. Some of them are self-explanatory. If you're going to own a gun shop, you probably have to have a firearms permit, But if you're running music lessons out of your home or photography business, how much research are we going to put into this to find out if those businesses need certain permits to operate? I think this is a step in the right direction, and I asked Mr. Toma to kind of review that, and I know you kind of have a little bit more of an answer and kind of how you think this is going to actually operate inside City Hall if we do enact this.
Well, where it's obvious, it's obvious. It's common knowledge, as he said, that a firearms dealer has to have a state and federal firearms license. If someone comes to us, we will ask if what they're doing requires a permit, and if they say yes, we'll require them to demonstrate they have secured it, or we will issue a business permit that's conditional on their getting it. If, as the firearms dealer said, I can't get my firearms license until you approve my special use permit. If someone says no to us, we really don't have, unless it's a blatant untruth, a way of knowing that. But if we issue a permit to them relying on that statement and it later proves to be untrue, that would not be a valid permit. So we would be able to withdraw that permit if we found out that we didn't have the accurate information. But as Alderman Steiger has pointed out, we we don't know everything about every business, so it's a possibility that we would issue a permit to someone who needed a license from the state or federal government, and we found out later they didn't have it.
My next, go ahead.
We don't issue that many special use permits. I've only known of like 3 here the last year. So it's not overwhelming.
No.
It would be something that we just have to take case by case and see if we can make sure that they actually do it.
Yeah. Certainly those questions can now be asked and required, and again, I guess if it would come to our attention, we could take the steps to investigate it further. If somebody said, hey, he has a license, and, you know, hopefully the industry, I'm sure the industry will somewhat self-regulate itself and would come to our attention if somebody had an issue with it, so. At least it puts a little bit of teeth into it. Yes. Any other comments? Okay, we'll close this at 7:37. Okay, we'll go into old business or no old business, it's all new business. Bill number 3874, the first reading.
An ordinance amending Title V, Article 1, Section 500.110 of the St. Genevieve City Code, first reading.
Approval.
Second. Martin, you,
We covered this in a work session before our last meeting. This is restoring to the city the requirement of ground fault interrupters at waterborne areas and shut-off valves on gas-operated equipment, which was part of the VOCA code and was lost under the property maintenance code when you switched to the international property maintenance code.
I'll move for a second reading.
and then we're gonna vote on that.
First reading.
Oh, we didn't vote yet. Okay, let's vote.
You got, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Move for a second reading.
Second.
All in favor, second reading?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, second reading, bill number 3874.
An ordinance amending Title V, Article 1, Section 500.110F of the St. Genevieve City Code.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Broomfield.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Okenthus.
Yes.
Alderman Steiger.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Alderwoman Zerwig.
Yes.
Alderman Skaggs.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 3874 now becomes ordinance 3813.
Okay, thank you. Bill number 3875, first reading.
An ordinance amending chapter 405 zoning regulations, section 405.200, special use regulations of the St. Genevieve Code of Ordinances.
Move to approve.
Second.
This is what we just talked about, the public hearing, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Bill number 3876, first reading.
An ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials.
Move to approve.
Linda, second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Bill number 3877, first reading.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Jokers Incorporated in the amount of $153,273 for the Westwood Drive Improvements Project.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, Nate.
I have a question.
Buck and
Buck.
Joe.
Is that 44,000 included into that?
It is not.
It is not, so that's,
We approved that contract with Bear before we had him design the road.
Right.
That's why the combined 44 and 153 comes up to about $10,000 less than what we had budgeted.
Any other discussion? We ended up with 4 bidders?
Yes. No, 3 bids.
3 bidders. Oh, yeah, actually, 3 bidders. Okay.
And I asked about that, actually.
You would have thought there'd been more.
Exactly. And the engineer said that most of the paving contractors just don't think they can compete with the local contractors, so they don't spend the time preparing the bids.
Yeah. Kudos to them.
All in favor of first reading?
Aye.
Opposed?
Any, is there any, is this old?
No, this is the first
Is there any reason we need to speed this up? We're gonna do it.
I think if you could do that,
Second
you
reading?
could justify that in this case, because
We're not in any time. Are we in a time constraint to
Would that
let
help?
this?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, weather-wise.
2 weeks can make a difference.
I would have trouble saying that starting 2 weeks early is kind of avoiding some imminent problem. I mean, I just don't know what it would be.
2 weeks down the road.
Okay, till the 26th.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll wait. Bill number 3878, first reading.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a tax exempt lease purchase financing for the street sweeper.
Move to approve.
Let's get this.
Okay, and just by way of explanation, we had 2 readings at our last meeting, which was authorizing us to pursue the financing, but we didn't have the lease documents in evidence when we did that. So this is not, you've already approved the financing, now you're basically approving the language of the document. And the exhibits, there are a couple of exhibits there. Frank has some comments on those. He said they aren't substantial enough to suggest that you shouldn't approve it, but he's going to get with the lease company and the attorney and work those out, so.
So it didn't do us any good to do a double reading, it's still delayed us?
No, I ordered the equipment.
Okay.
And relied on your approval of the financing. And that's why we were able to get this
Well,
document.
who's gonna pay for it if we don't approve it?
I think we've already,
it comes out of Martin's check.
Well,
it's an order, yeah, you gotta have 2.
Yeah, we have 2
2
readings.
readings.
Okay. We had
he didn't wanna answer that question, did he?
They said, where's the?
It's such a good deal, I would have no problem buying it myself and reselling it.
Driving it around town.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
And this should have 2.
You want another reading? I'll make a motion.
A second.
Second reading.
did you catch that?
Second.
Okay. Second reading, bill number 3878.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a tax exempt lease purchase financing for the street
Are we
sweeper.
right? Did we pass the motion for a second reading? Did I miss that?
No, you made the motion.
I didn't hear us vote on it, though.
You right? We didn't, did we?
No.
No, we didn't. All right. Do we make a motion in a second? You made the motion.
And he seconded the second reading.
Second reading,
We didn't
yep,
vote
all
on the
right.
second reading.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of the
Aye.
second
Aye.
reading?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, I'm sorry. Now, second reading of bill 3878. Yeah, now you
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a tax exempt lease purchase financing for the street sweeper.
Move approval.
Roll call.
Alderman Eccleston?
Yes.
Alderman Steiger?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderwoman Burnfield?
Yes.
Alderman Skaggs?
Yes.
Alderwoman Zerwig?
Yes.
Alderman Stupi?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 3878 now becomes ordinance 3814.
Did you hear that? All the people at home are applauding, we're getting a street sweeper.
Okay, any public comments? Anyone?
I have something.
Public comment.
Let somebody else have a
Okay.
chance to talk.
Other business?
I do have questions about, I talked to the county commissioners today. I was so lucky to be on speaker phone with all of them. And I asked them about the fence and stuff, and I did have questions about who's gonna be cleaning the road afterwards, because the citizens on that street, the road is always very dirty after the county fair on Riverview. Is it Riverview Drive? Yes. And I didn't know who would be cleaning the road. Last year, there was mounds and mounds of mud on the street, and the citizens were not happy about
Did they address that with you?
that. No. They said, well, usually Dave cleans it. That's what they said. Which probably he does, but, I mean, I don't know if there's like somebody officially is gonna say, we'll clean that. I don't know if somebody has a jetty and they wanna clean it, I mean, I don't know.
You know, let me contact the fair board. I think that would be the best thing.
Mhm.
And, you know, they've been cooperative with us up to now. I imagine they would be on that
Yeah.
issue as well.
So,
Any other business? Go ahead.
I've got a couple. Make an announcement that the tourism meeting that's normally on the third Friday, that we're gonna combine that with the quarterly public tourism meeting on Monday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. here in the chamber. So that's the quarterly tourism meeting here, July 23rd at 7. Let people know that. And then I had two other questions. We talked about starting to collect email information from citizens whether it's through the water bill, when they sign up for water, when they come in and do a permit, per ward as well, so that we know, which ward that those people are in. So I really, I don't know what it takes, but I want to get that started so we can start collecting those emails from people that are interested in it. If they want to get information pushed out to them, they don't have to give it to us, but I would like to send out one for Ward 3. I'm sure some of the other aldermen might want to push out information to citizens for certain things. So wherever we can start collecting that data voluntarily, I'd like to do that. Is there any objections to that from City Hall?
You want it set up ward by ward.
I mean, yeah. I mean, everyone maybe.
Carla could make a folder for Ward 1 and everybody's email.
Correct. And maybe and maybe one for all city, send one for all 4, Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4. And
Yeah, you could
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
It's probably easier just.
However, but, and if you're making a, public announcement to everyone, great, but if certain wards wanted to start collecting data, so.
I think that's eminently doable.
And then the last thing, I think our city attorney's at the city attorney yearly conference, but I want to see if we found any information about the sunshine request as far as the special road district, if we found out their taxing authority or not.
I haven't heard anything from him in that regard.
Do we know if we actually made the request?
I don't know that.
I would like to see if you could get back to me on that in the next couple days?
Mm-hmm.
When you find out, I want to know.
Sure. Maybe just shoot an email to all of us and let us kind of know what the latest is on the.
I don't really
Well, that's okay. Fair enough. That's all I have. Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you. I know Martin mentioned the newsletter earlier in his report, and I'd just like to say what a nice job the city staff did, Carla and
Really
everybody
good.
else.
Yeah.
It's very nice, very informative, and nice job. That's really all I've got. I would like to have a short closed session to deal with personnel.
Move to go into closed session.
Alderman Skaggs.
Yes.
Alderwoman Zerwig.
Yes.
Alderman Stupi.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Steiger.
Yes.
Alderman Okenthus.
Yes.
Alderwoman Broomfield. Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yeah.